taking a step back from the podcast or something. But I wasn't even fully talking about him retiring. I was actually talking about him getting canceled by people earlier in the day. That was real. Right-wingers were actually trying to cancel him. Like, that's crazy. You just said I'm being narcissistic and off-putting. Will Neff has never had a moment where his shirt is not off, okay? Like, you're like, no, it's fine. It's fine when he does it. I just don't like it when you do it. Yeah, but Will is endearing. Exactly. It's endearing when he does it. Hello, human resources when Hasan does it. Anyway. Are you watching the Moist video? Yes.
Dude, what a week, huh, sports fans? Holy Toledo. Yeah, so Moistcritikal's in a big oopsie-poopsie situation here. It reminds me of the time in Moonfall when Casey Houseman sacrifices himself and cringe to become the moon. Yeah, so, being serious now, since this has become such a big issue, I've been in a lot of drama recently. I'm in hot water, and I'm biting on the fart bubbles that pop up in the bathtub here. It is a lot. So let's start with the most recent one today. My retirement. I didn't know I was retiring. That's news to me. I'm as shocked as all of you are. I had a ton of fun last night playing a game called Clickleding, which is basically like a cuckoldry simulator, but for clicking against like the Lorax in a hotel room. And I just did like an old school gameplay commentary video. I was bubbly, full of jubilation. I posted it today only to learn that I'm just a big old liar. Liar, liar, plants for hire, I suppose.
Dude, it's crazy. Bro, this has literally happened to me. Remember when I was in my own Discord, like responding to chatters, and some chatters were saying dumb, and I was like, I'm gonna kill myself. Responded to a chatter, and then that was literally posted out of context. And I'm having the time of my life in Australia with my friends, and then I start getting calls from normies who saw tweets being like, "Oh, Hasan is himself. He's like really sad." And because I don't have Twitter on my phone, I have no idea that this is what's popping. Way to make someone else's drama about you again. I'm a political commentator, or a commentator in general online, and so is he. It's not me making the drama about myself. It's just me saying, like, this is a very commonplace thing that happens on Twitter. So it's not that surprising that it happened to Charlie, but it is surprising that this is like a thing that happens so frequently. It's called sharing an experience with a person who you are relating to, while also simultaneously doing commentary over it. I hope you understand that, chatter. You know? Yeah, wow, an accurate parallel. How narcissistic. It's very weird. People are so afraid if you just watch YouTube and explain why genocide is bad, I will never understand the hate. No, that's the reason why, because people are like, no, genocide is good. That's what it is. But anyway, the real reason why I mentioned this from my own personal experience and how this has happened to me as well is not to be like, look at me. This is about me or whatever. But the real reason is like, how is this a thing? Like, how have we gotten to a point online where we're just like, I don't even give a what the reality is. I just care about like what people who are aligned with me are saying about the reality. Nobody investigates it. Nobody looks into it at all. And we just kind of see it. I mean, I kind of did it too. I was like, oh, it seems like he's taking a step back from the podcast or something. But I wasn't even fully talking about him retiring. I was actually talking about him getting canceled by people earlier in the day. That was real. Right-wingers were actually trying to cancel him for his normal statements about like trans medical care. But like, it is a fascinating situation where people can just like make stuff up about you. And if you don't immediately address it, they're like, nope, it happened. And sometimes, depending on whether they hate you or not, okay, depending on whether they hate you or not, it literally turns into like, I don't even believe you. Because there was hella people that were like, I don't believe you, dog. You wanted to kill yourself. You had a gun in your mouth.
Apparently, and I didn't know this until I posted the video, everyone was under the impression that I was quitting the internet. So I started scratching at the hair on my chinny chin, wondering, when the f did that happen? Was I sleepwalking? Do I have somnambulism? Is this some kind of like, you know, Fight Club situation? But instead of like Tyler Durden, I have Charles Turden here that's just making wrong announcements. It turns out the patient zero behind all of this was a post Jackson made announcing that I would be leaving the podcasts, which is something I thought about periodically for quite a few months now, mainly because I started to recognize that I was becoming the very thing I'd make fun of with being chronically online. Like, I just was always online, And the podcasts were a big proponent of that, and I just kind of wanted to scale back the amount of time I spend online, and I kept Jackson in the loop the whole time here about where my head was at, and last week I told him, hey man, I think this is going to be where I hang up the jersey, you can put it in the rafters, throw it in the dumpster, but I think I'm just going to be, sailing off into the sunset here and just reducing the amount of stuff I do online. Which he completely understood, so he made the announcement just letting people know that, and then that got spun on Twitter and Reddit as Moistcritikal's taking an indefinite hiatus and quitting the internet fundamentally. Don't know when I'll be back, he's done with the internet because of all this controversy. Patooey on his grave, he's gone. When looking at the post, I don't even know where that's coming from. It's literally just talking about the podcast and me just stepping away. Like, it doesn't extend beyond that. I can't even wrap my tiny noodle around how anyone could perceive this as me being done with.
Isn't his podcast the reaction to a Turkish dude living in Germany calling you up one time? I don't know. I don't even know how to access Moistcritikal's podcast. I do know that one of his homies that he has on his podcast, I think. I don't know if he's like he's on it all the time or not, but he hates me, the Turkish dude. He hates me. His name is Kaya. Yeah. Like he's weird. I like Charlie. I think he's a nice person. We don't always agree on stuff. Sometimes I feel like he just leans in a little bit too much to the centrist stuff. But overall, one of his homies hates me, which is weird because he's Turkish. Kaya's also said a lot of pedo and incel shit in the past week. Wait, you mean to tell me another guy who just hates me and has called me has said pedophilic things? What? I mean, but that's neither here nor there, but it's not even like that. What you just told me about this dude who I've never seen, who I have no idea what he looks like. I think we might have watched a video many, many years ago. Cause I just only kind of remember that like some dude that Moist was on a podcast with was just like saying unhinged about me. But you're telling me he said some weird...
Because then it would look like I'm just trying to kick the ass of someone who's like trying to do something good by like exposing the system for...
What is this? I'm not going to watch this 4 minutes, okay? He says it's not weird to ask an 8-year-old for upskirt photos, unbased and pedo pilled. That's a yikes for me. Okay, I don't even care. I'm not going to look at this clip. I don't give a shit. It's 4 minutes long. All I'm saying is it's not shocking.
The internet entirely, but that's the story that they ran with, and that's what most people saw, not the actual post. So everyone thought I was quitting the internet, so I posted that video that I was really happy with because it just felt like an OG old school video that made me happy, and then bang! Just a flood of comments and dislikes all saying like, how could you deceive us? I thought you quit, huh? What happened to leaving, huh? I just read this post on Twitter from an account that had a profile pic of titties photoshopped onto Thomas Edison that said you were done, and it had 50,000 likes, so I know it was true, and you're just a liar. I can't even just peacefully walk away from some projects without it being a massive reaction.
This literally is the absolute worst aspect of especially new Twitter. Like, this has always been a case online. This has always been an issue online for sure. But nowadays with Twitter, it's just like the more fake your information is, the more you spread misinformation, the more clout that you get. Very strange stuff overall. Okay. Very weird. Literally, the truth does not matter. What matters is engagement farming. What matters is like sticking to a narrative. And in this circumstance, okay, in this circumstance, it's like, oh, Charlie's quitting online. He's done. He's done forever. And then everybody runs with it.
Over actual nothing burger information. And trust me, no one has a palate more refined for nothing burgers than...
He's just now feeling a taste of what you get daily. I know. Why didn't Sneako get canceled for saying pedo shit? Brother, because he's a right-wing guy. He's a right-wing troll. I think at a certain point, y'all are going to understand that when you're like a right-wing troll, you get this perma shield. Okay? Is it true that you're leaving Fear and letting Porter Robinson play... replace you full time? Exactly. Yeah, you got the vice signaling shield. It's the same reason why, like, when you align with like right-wing people and you just like promote right-wing values, even if you marginally moderate to the middle, people will love that. They'll be like, oh my God, look at Barstool Dave Porter, right? Or Dave Portnoy, Pork Boy, not Porter. Or I don't know, Aiden Ross, he's like now apparently talking about his own community being like super far right, when it's like, bro, you literally scream the F slur on a regular basis, right? It's because like the right is, as long as you say the right things that they want to hear, they don't give a what you believe.
Than me. I have ranted about the stupidest of all time, but this was mind-boggling even for me. So to set the record straight, no, I'm not retiring, despite what the experts are telling you.
That podcast clip was AI, by the way. Okay.
All I did was walk.
You talked about your community, so how is that relevant? Wait, what? More relevant than $6 a month? What are you doing? Are you trying to do a 3-minute debate? Is that what you're doing? That's a double one. We're not doing double. We're not doing two-parters. You're banned for the day. But yes, 3-minute ad break.
Walk away from a couple of projects. Like that's really it. Like that's a pretty normal thing that one of them I've been doing for like 8 years. I really didn't think it was that deep, especially not deep enough for how big of a story it's become with all of the wild narratives running around about the true reason that I stopped doing it. So let's get into that drama. I've talked about it on stream, I don't even know how many times at this point, but we'll just talk about all of it in this video here. So, when covering the Ava Tyson situation, I was attacked by a lot of people for not being quick enough. Even though I covered it within like the first 6 hours, people were unsatisfied that—
That's not quick enough, dude. That's not quick enough. You should have predicted it, okay? You should have actually predicting it. You should have just said Ava Chris Tyson is a when she came out as a trans person months ago, and then we wouldn't be mad at you. Like, it didn't even matter. You don't need like any sort of weird messages in the Discord, anything like that. You should just have run with the narrative that a trans person is obviously, but you didn't do that, so I'm mad at you. And that's basically what it is. This entire conversation is just that for the most part. And it's wild how much we online in this space, and this includes Charlie, this includes myself, or used to include me because I used to be on Twitter on my phone all the time, how much we let this right-wing hole that is known as Twitter dictate the actual narrative that we decide to have on other platforms where there are real people. If you recall, I said this in the Hasan thinks that Twitch streaming is the hardest job in the world narrative. If it stays on Twitter, it doesn't go anywhere because half of that shit's botted. It's all right-wing psychos. But once centrist podcasters and political commentators and other people actually take it off of Twitter because they think everyone is actually watching it there, everyone's talking about this, and start doing commentary on it, then it becomes a real story because now actual real people are talking about it.
That I hadn't made a video within like the first 20 minutes of it dropping. And then when I did finally finish the full video covering all of it, it was another massive problem where now I only did it out of an obligation because people called me out, and then I also got accused of being a transphobe because I didn't use Ava Tyson's preferred pronouns, which were she, her. I didn't know that. I thought just calling Ava Tyson by her name was okay, and I had also heard when I went to the Mr. Beast thing, someone refer to Ava Tyson with they. So I was truly under the impression that that was okay. And for that, I was annihilated by a good chunk of Twitter. And then annihilated by another good chunk of Twitter because I called out Sneako, who was the main proponent about me covering for Mr. Beast to keep the collab alive.
I remember people in a streamer roast you about it, then later on admitting in stream that his social battery was running out, that he was feeling burnout lol. That's awesome.
I wasn't talking about Ava Tyson because I wanted the Mr. Beast collab. And I talked about how absurd that statement was, especially given his history with fighting against the age of consent. He's been very vocal about how much he hates the age of consent, and so I talked about that briefly at the end of the video, which then changed the whole narrative for a lot of people where I never talked about Ava Tyson and only talked about Sneako. So it was a complete lose-lose, because if I didn't talk about what Sneako was saying, I would have been called a coward for not addressing it and talking about, like, well, he was going to cover for Mr. Beast until Sneako called him out. So, like, if I didn't do it, I would have been attacked. I did do it, still got attacked. It really was unwinnable. But from that spawned a conversation where I talked to Sneako directly, because he was very upset that I was talking about how him rallying against the age of consent is arguments, like defending pedophilia. As I've said, since the very beginning of this channel, I'm always willing to engage with people I disagree with.
He used they, them pronouns in an attempt not to misgender her. Specifically, didn't use he, him. He doesn't clarify that very well here. remember, like for a lot of normies, like trans stuff is difficult to parse through. It's not that simple. Even I sometimes, and I'm like, you know, I've been with it. I've been with the shits for quite some time.
And I thought that maybe there was a chance I misunderstood what he was trying to say, even though it's still abhorrent. I thought, okay, maybe he's not actually trying to defend pedophilia. He's like some kind of pseudo-intellectual debate bro who's trying to say something else. So I was willing to hear him out on it, and I talked to him in DMs, and he said he doesn't believe in the age of consent. He believes in the age of marriage, can't assign a number to it, but said that when someone can legally drive, they should be able to marry at the same time, which is literally like a 15 or 16.
Wait, what? As Muslims, we believe it is our duty to follow the law of the land. Bro, oh my God, this man, he's Muslim, is so annoying, bro. I swear to God. Dude, I fucking hate adult reverts who, especially on the influencer side, act like they are converting for content, specifically participate in the discourse as the most memed out version of Islam. Okay, I hate these LARPers. Oh my God. And you know what I hate even as much as these LARPers? All the dumb Muslims living in diaspora who eat that up, who also are like so incredibly reactionary and also lean into that. And it makes me so unimaginably mad because you are basically playing a minstrel show for some of the most right-wing to point to you and go, look at these barbaric monkeys who believe in all of the worst. The white Christians also believe that same, mind you, but they can still point to you and turn around and go, all of you Muslims are like this, okay? I hate that so much. I hate it, okay? So part of the reason why I also openly will tell you all the time that I am Muslim, okay? And a lot of dumb Muslim dudes on TikTok and don't see it, and it pisses me off so much. Bro, they literally think we're all weirdos here, okay? In the Western world, the understanding of Islam is so distorted. They do not see it as this religious belief. They think it's all like people who love doing pedophilia and so when you got a psycho who looks at Islam and goes, oh, wow, I am actually Muslim because I'm conservative. I am actually Muslim because I think women should marry at the early age of 15. That breaks my mind, okay? Anyway, I say this as someone who, for those of you who don't know, I say this as someone whose name is Hasan, who is Muslim, who grew up in a Muslim country before people go, oh, that white boy is talking about Muslims, okay? They're like, oh yeah, no, I love Islam. I love doing Sharia law. And it's like, bro, shut up. Shut the f up. You grew up in like New Jersey or something. Like, what the f do you mean? You come from a Christian family. All of a sudden you're like, oh, I love Islam because I want to marry children. Like, what are you doing? What the f is this? What is happening here? So I do hate it. I do especially hate it when like dumb who are actually genuine Muslims themselves who get very excited at the prospect of a Christian person converting to Islam, who get very excited at like, you know, an American guy converting to Islam because they love the Quran. That's what happened. Like they believe it's genuine and they don't realize how damaging that is. Anyway.
Should be able to marry at the same.
Look at this. He's saying it. As Muslims, we believe it is our duty to follow the law of the land at the age of 15. I hate that.
Time, which is literally like a 15 or 16-year-old because you get your permanent 15, your license at 16, and both are way too young to be marrying. That's just completely unacceptable. It is downright disgusting. He then said that he was happy to discuss it in a call, which I said I was willing to hear him out on, and he said that he would do it later because he was outside doing an IRL stream in Turkey. So I was willing to hear him out because, again, if this is some kind of crazy misunderstanding, I'd like to know that because it'd be really scary for someone in his position with his level of influence to be actually advocating for adults marrying and children. That's a huge problem. That's a big problem. So if there was something that he was like trying to say but failing to do so, I was willing to at least hear it. And this is where the infamous debate came from, the debate that people are calling the debate of the century. I'm kidding, not a single soul on the planet said that. It's actually one of the most dog debates I think human beings have ever had. He eventually called me on Discord. I was under the impression this was just him and I talking. I had no idea this was going to be a debate. I thought he was going to try and explain himself like, hey, no, this isn't actually what I meant. This is what I'm trying to say. I thought this was a conversation between him and I, not this kind of debate show that he was putting on for his audience. There is nothing in our DMs that indicated that's where it was going. When I joined the call, he asked if I was going to record it, to which I said, I can if he wants me to, but I was also down to just talk. So I thought maybe he wanted it as a recording to like explain to people like, no, he's not actually a defender or advocating for that kind of thing.
Bro, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? This dude is not, like, this dude is a charlatan. He's a demon. I don't know why you thought that you would just like let him farm you. It makes me so mad. Oh.
So I thought that is why he asked. I didn't know it was because it was being streamed, especially because one of his last DMs was about how he's doing an outside IRL stream and he would call me after. To me, that says when he's done streaming, that's when we'll talk, not as a part of his stream. I didn't know this was a debate nor a stream until about an hour and 40 into it, rough ballpark. I am not a debater.
I need to fly back down to Florida to cook his ass in the courts again, dude. That's what I need to do.
I've never claimed to be one. I never want to be a debater. I've always said that I believe conversations are the most productive because debates always devolve into what side can score the most points by explaining their thought process.
It's just like Sneako is not a serious person. He is just like a perfect grifter, okay? He both is a, I guess, Muslim. I didn't even know that. While also simultaneously is a Nazi. Like, why is anybody having a conversation with this guy? I just don't understand it.
Even if the position is wrong, whereas a conversation is a very different thing to me. So I didn't even know that's what this was. So obviously I was unprepared for a debate. So I entered into the Thunderdome and we started talking. I made it clear that I found his statements on the age of consent and children marrying adults being hideous, absolutely revolting. And then he started arguing about, well, what is a child? We must define a child, you know. It's not actually being under 18. It's all a bunch of hooey. And I really think if you have to start arguing about, well, what technically is a child, you're already way too far gone. Like, that is so weird. And in no uncertain terms, multiple times throughout the debate, Sneako says that he is okay with people that are aged 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 marrying adults that are 18 or older.
We're talking globally. Let's just talk globally. Like, do you think it is okay for, I'm not talking about just you specifically anymore, anyone. Do you think it's okay for anyone in their 20s, an adult, to marry a 15 or 16-year-old?
A 21-year-old, if there was a marriage where the father consented and the daughter consented, and it was both good on both families and they wanted to do it, why am I going to get involved? Why should we get the government involved?
Even get back a little bit. Do you think there's not a problem with a
Predation, okay? That's the difference between like gay people, adults, having a consensual relationship, which hurts no one, versus like an adult having sex with a child, which is because the child can't consent. A child can't consent. Therefore, the adult in that situation is taking advantage of a child not having all their mental faculties in order. Why is this a conversation that we're having? That is very harmful for the child's development, okay? That's why we have laws around this sort of thing. Age of consent laws. Very, very weird. Very weird. Doesn't make sense. Marriage does not change that reality. It is still predation. You're being a predator. I did not actually think that the libertarian attitude towards age of consent laws and child marriages, which is not so subtle defenses, not so subtle defenses would be actively had, like debates surrounding be actively had in 2024, the year of our holy Lord. I did not think that this was where the right would go so openly. What happened to shame? What happened to decency? This is so gross.
Child being with an adult?
Okay. We haven't even agreed upon what a child and an adult is. You keep saying that it's 18.
Under 18 is child.
And I'm telling you,
adult.
that's not even the definition of the word.
What is the number? It needs to be a number, or else you can do the same thing.
I just told you there's not a number.
Do you see why that's a problem?
No.
If there's no defined... So why can't a 12-year-old marry an 18-year-old?
Because most 12-year-olds haven't gone through puberty yet. And most 12-year-olds...
Okay. As you just said, it changes. What if a 12-year-old went through puberty early, the parents consent, the 18-year-old and the parents consent? Can they do it?
Most likely that's not going to happen. You know why? Because Islamically, if
we're not talking most likely, just say it.
If the families have consented.
What do you mean Islamically, bro? What are you saying? Dude, he's in Turkey right now, okay? And most Turkish people would look at what he's saying and go, what the f are you saying, dog? Are there people who would make this argument in Turkey? Absolutely. We have our hogs as well, okay? We of course have our hogs as well. Şeriatçılar gibi konuşuyor abi, kafayı yiyeceğim ha. Amına kodum, sanki hayvan oğlu hayvan hayatı boyunca köyde büyümüş, şeriat parçası, şeriatta büyümüş herif, 12 yaşında kız İslam'a göre evlenebilir falan diyor ya. Böyle bir şey olabilir mi? Like, once again, the overwhelming consensus in Turkey would be that this is gross. A Muslim country. Are there people who would make this argument? Definitely. Okay? Definitely. But those guys are not exactly the norm. As a matter of fact, they are people that we in Turkey also yell about on a regular basis. You cannot escape hogs, okay? You can't escape hog culture. Hogs are universal, okay? We have our version of them in Turkey as well, just like America has their version in the United States of America. The universality of hogs, however, aligns on the principle of abolishing age of consent and defending dating and marrying children by justifying it with religion. The issue, however, is that in the Western world, people think that the entirety of Islam is like this and it's monolithic. Aynen, tarikatçı, manyak ya.
The kid is mature, the kid is ready. Why should I stop
at 12 years old? At 12 years old.
If the kid is physically mature, the parents consent, both parties are happy.
A 12-year-old being physically mature.
If it's
what? Sneako'nun İslam'ı sahiplenmesi ve kendini Türkiye ile ilişkilendirmesi konusunda nasıl hissediyorsanız, İsrail'in kendini Yahudilikle bir tutması konusunda ben de aynı şekilde hissediyorum. Ben Yahudi bir adamım ama bu dili kullanıyorum çünkü ben bir pan-Türkistim. Ve Amerika'nın aslında Türkiye'nin bir parçası olduğunu anlıyorum. Bro, please, this can't be Google Translate, right? Bro, this dude's, I have to read it out loud. I don't understand what you're saying. Oh, it's gotta be Google Translate. Okay. That's crazy. He said the way you feel about Sneako taking ownership over Islam and Turkey is the way I feel about Israel taking ownership over Judaism. I'm a Jewish man, but I use the language, the Turkish language, because I'm a pan-Turkist and I believe that America is actually a part of Turkey, greater Turkey. You asshole.
That's the only line that actually makes sense.
Again, I don't think a 14-year-old can ever be physically mature.
Mm-hmm. Even though they literally can. Even though
what do you mean? Whoa, dude, what? How did nobody yell at him over this? Why did more people try to cancel Moistcritikal Penguinzo over him agreeing to the scientific community's consensus, medical professionals' consensus on like trans medical care for young adults and minors, okay? While simultaneously no one was paying attention to what's going on here. This guy's like legitimately saying the most you've ever heard.
Nobody actually defines that. It's fine.
I don't believe so. I was 14 once. I actually had a mustache when I was 14. Would you have looked at me and said I was physically mature enough to get married?
If you were physically mature, if you were mature, yes, I would. Okay.
Really? When I was 14.
Yeah. If you were 14 and you were ready to go and you met another 14-year-old, yes, I would.
No. We're talking adults. You keep going back to that.
That is adult.
I met
I told you my definition.
I
told you the definition. The definition.
Okay.
If you went through puberty, you're an adult. That's the definition of adult. So yes, if you're an adult and you had a mustache, you're ready to get married, fine. Okay.
Not defending Ava Tyson, but if she said this stuff, it would be a whole different story. Bro, oh my God, that is actually a really good point. Like Ava Chris Tyson said some weird ass to a 13-year-old, okay, in a Discord server. If she was joking or very straightforwardly, unironically saying these exact same words, oh my God. Oh my God. I was going to say people would try to, but like she's already trans, so.
Okay.
Unironically saying a 14-year-old adult, I think would make most sensible people want to puke. there's so many instances of this, and a lot of the conversation was spent with him talking about like overseas age of consent, like talking about how Japan's age of consent was 13 for the longest time, this and that. But
Ew.
the whole thing.
What is that? Dude, this is like, bro, dude. This is like libertarian across the board. Oh my God, this is peak libertarian conversation.
Was like pulling teeth, and it was painful. And I think it's extremely alarming perspective to have. Unironically calling a 14-year-old and 12-year-old mature enough for a marriage, those are middle schoolers. Like, holy I think that is extremely concerning to be advocating for something like that. Like, would Sneako be okay if his best friend ended up marrying a 14-year-old? He certainly shouldn't be. No one should be okay with something like that. Like, that's terrible. That is actually terrible. But now, since I wasn't, like, holding him to this topic or making...
That's crazy. Nick Merckx didn't react. Just straight transphobia reacts all the way. Nick Merckx's channel...
YouTube, what's going on
Nick
today?
Merckx's channel went from video games to just only talking about dreams and just right-wing grifting. Oh, my God. His college football videos get 100,000 views. His fucking transphobia videos, okay? Moistcritikal and Sneako are both out of their minds. Extreme centrism. 400,000 views. Oh, right-wing grifting is so fucking profitable. It's crazy, dude. He's playing with Michigan. His dog shit. This Elon Musk situation is upsetting.
Sure it stayed on the topic I thought we were talking about. It went all over the place with a ton of different things, but the big one, and this is what most people have focused on, which was my response to his question about kids transitioning. And the way he would pose that question would be by asking if I thought it was okay if kids who want to switch their gender go to the doctor and get their dick cut.
His stream viewership continues to decline, so it makes total sense to grift. I mean, yeah.
Cut off. Is it okay if a 9-year-old goes to a doctor and gets their cock cut off right then and there? And when posed with that question, I replied with yes. And I've talked about this on stream many, many times now, and I'll talk about it again here. I thought he was talking in hyperbole. I thought he was just exaggerating, being over the top, talking about the entire subject of transitioning. I had no idea that any living, breathing human being actually thought that that's how transitioning works, where you just go into a doctor saying, I feel like...
Yeah, like, that's not how it works. Problem is, Charlie, you're living in the real world where you are exercising what is unfortunately a forgotten art, which is called critical thinking, where you think to yourself, of course, you don't just like walk into a chop shop where there's like a tiny guillotine, okay? And they immediately slap that guillotine on your cock. And they're like, oh, you're fucking trans now. Like, that's not how that works. Except it doesn't matter that that's not how that works, because in the world of right-wing commentary, that is exactly how everything works. It's not about what the truth is. It's about what right-wingers have decided what the truth is. Okay? Yeah, they're going to fucking West Coast Customs, dude. Like you're fucking driving your car in after evading the police, okay? And the door closes and you come out with a new spray paint. That's how it is. That's how gender confirmation works.
Switching genders and they lay you down on the operating table and just snip your whole fucking meat off. I didn't know that that's what he actually believed. I didn't know he was speaking literally. I thought he was just referring to the entire process of transitioning and just using this over-the-top statement to encapsulate all of it. Because you literally cannot get that surgery unless you are 18. Like, you actually have to go out of your way to be that stupid on the topic than you would just spending a couple of seconds looking.
And here come all the fucking psychopathic right-wing weirdos who could be like, actually, in this extreme scenario, it did happen one time, so I guess you're owned. And it's like, oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Oh my God. You did not fucking win this conversation. You were just a psycho. You literally made it seem like you could just walk into a fucking clinic and get an over-the-counter penis snipping operation. And then you turn around and you're like, well, in this one extreme case, it did fucking happen one time for a completely irrelevant reason. And the person wasn't even like trans or whatever. But hey, guess what? It did happen, so you owned.
Looking it up. There are very rare cases where someone under 18 has had...
You lose the second this conversation starts. There's no winning these debates. brother, if you were to cave and capitulate the right-wing framing on every issue, you could say that about virtually every issue, man. The right have captured the online marketplace. The right have captured mainstream media on a lot of issues. Crime is out of control. It's not, but it doesn't fucking matter because it feels like it is because the media keeps telling me it is. Trans people are doing crimes and are pedophiles. It's not the case, but it doesn't matter because everyone keeps saying it feels like it is. So maybe we should just, have the conversation on the boundaries they want to have it. Okay. Yeah. No matter what happens. Yes. It always feels like it's a moot point because you just can't fucking talk to these animals because they're like a brick wall, right? You just can't do anything. But that should never stop you from advocating for the correct things, for the truth. Okay.
That surgery performed. That's not common. So I really didn't think that someone could be so dumb on the topic. I thought he was just speaking in hyperbole, which is my mistake. I should have been more clear instead of making an assumption that he was talking about something nuanced in an over-the-top way. I haven't hid this take, and it's not a new take from me. I've talked about this a couple times throughout the years on stream. I have no complaints if a kid gets interested in transitioning and starts talking to their family about it. So their parents start talking to doctors, the kid starts talking to...
I wonder if he knows someone who's like trans in his immediate life because this is like, this is genuinely a breath of fresh air, I would say. And it's shockingly uncommon, especially for someone who's like a normie. Like it is... Like, it shouldn't be omega based or whatever, right? But like, this is unfortunately a shockingly uncommon position in the United States of America amongst like people who are not super tapped into this kind of stuff. However, it is of course the literal consensus of the scientific community and medical professionals. So like, sucks, but we are so far removed from reality on the matter. But I'm really happy to see that he is like, abiding by the medical community's prescriptions and research and data and consensus on what to do with trans teenagers instead of just like hyperventilating.
The doctors and therapists and all of this, because the process of transitioning is one that takes place over the course of many years. It's not something that just happens like that. And I'm also not afraid to admit that I am not the most educated when it comes to transitioning. I am not someone that has a ton of knowledge about the subject to be speaking on it in a really in-depth manner. But even I know these very surface level things that everyone has easy access to understand. It is a long process. And I have no problems at all if a kid gets interested in that process and starts going through that process with proper care. And then when they reach the age where they can consider that surgery and decide they want to do it, then that's all power to them. That's entirely up to them. They have reached that age. They can now do that surgery if they want to. That is not a surgery that's being offered to like a 9-year-old who just says, I feel like changing genders today. It's just not how it works. And I didn't think that that's what was actually being discussed because it's so fucking silly. Now, I'm sure there's some really fringe cases you can point to where that kind of thing did happen, but it's not common. Thus, I didn't think that's what was being referred to in the conversation. And it is, again, my mistake for not recognizing that at that moment, it was being spoken about literally. So all that shit that people keep dogpiling and spouting about me about how I want all kids to go out there and get their genitals chopped off is just fucked up. Like, it's so ridiculous. I recognize I did a horrible job of arguing in this debate, which isn't surprising considering I don't debate. This is not something that's in my skill set, which of course led to some embarrassingly dog shit arguments. Like the one I've seen people reference a couple times is when I briefly mentioned sports in this topic. It was a stupid point to try and make. I was getting hit by like some rebound psychic damage listening to some of the drivel brain rot that Sneako was spouting about the age of consent. And I don't know why I thought this was like an argument to try and make, but I brought up...
Was way impressed, especially when he didn't necessarily have the talking points down and ready to go, but stayed committed as he was being an ally here. It would have been easy to back off it and pretend that it just didn't happen. Dude, I respect this so much. This is... Dude, I take back everything I said about Charlie sometimes being a fucking fence sitter. This is one issue where like he would make the most by just never talking about it ever, or even, dare I say, taking a transphobic position, a transphobic stance. Like, this is holy shit. Like, this is so I have so much more respect for him after this. Like, I've liked him. I'm not shy about that. I say that all the time. I think he's a nice dude. But overall, this is one issue online where they will cook your ass, brother. They will cook your fucking ass. It is legitimately shocking that he just straight up, openly was like, I'm not even well equipped to defend these positions, but I think it's the most humane approach to the subject matter. I'm not the best debater. I think debates are loser shit, which I agree. They are. And it has nothing to do with like the reality or the truth or anything like that. It's just about yapping and talking points and being able to fucking push them out as quickly as possible to make it seem like you won to your side. But ultimately, this is an honorable thing that he has done. You talked about just the situation on the pod with Charlie not giving troll space by responding to them.
We weren't sure you were a Florida resident until a recent video where you pulled out some very scary guns.
Yes, I have some very scary toys.
Yep. Oh my God.
So I
thought you were about to pull one out.
I just start blasting.
That is very
I have
Florida.
one tucked here in my gym short.
It
It's
is
like a Call of Duty gun.
it is actually
it
like a Call of
super
Duty skin.
tactical. It was tasteful.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't overkill.
Yeah. And
it wasn't an RPG,
There's a,
right?
yeah, no, there's a yeah. We had this conversation. We had this conversation with Charlie about giving in to right-wing trolls, specifically about Sneako, as a matter of fact, back then.
Sports in this subject, and I was going to try and elaborate what I was going to try and say is that when a kid gets interested in a sport, they'll talk to their parents about it, they'll research the sport, go through the process of learning about it. And when it comes to transitioning, it's still a process where you talk to your family about it, you learn about it. Like, it wasn't a point where I was trying to say, well, changing genders is a lot like picking between baseball and soccer. Like, it's not what I was trying to get at, but because I didn't elaborate on it and it really wasn't a good argument to try and make in the first place, that's one people have harped on a lot. And I get it. Like I said, I am not a debater. Like, I didn't go in here expecting a debate. So I had nothing prepared here for this inundation of outrageous questions and tangents. Like, there was a point where Sneako was trying to get me to say white power. Like, the whole thing was a fucking mess. It was, without a doubt, probably the worst debate that video has ever been cursed with. And I really regret not doing a better job here. It's not something I should have even done in the first place. I just have a tendency to really hope for the best out of people. And I was really hoping that I and most people were wrong about Sneako's perspective on the age of consent. However, unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be the case. He was very adamant about this position, and I did a terrible job in arguing with him, and I did a terrible job of articulating my beliefs. I am supportive of the LGBTQ+, and I have been, and that's not something I've been shy about. I just wish I did a better job of expressing that. To be open and honest here, and I've talked about this a lot, I've always treated my channel kind of like a diary for myself, which is why I just talk about so much different nonsense and so many things that I know a lot of people don't give a fuck about, but some of it's fun for me to talk about, or some of it's just things I care about. So being totally honest, I used to treat the internet as an escape from my dog shit real life. Truly unhappy, really hated most of everything about myself, and the internet was my escape from it. But now it's really become that real life is the escapism for me now. Like, I love posting and creating things, but I don't like interacting with the internet around me anymore. And it's something that I started to realize a couple months ago, and I've talked about it on stream a little bit, how because I've covered so many like drama stories and everything, it's pretty much all that I ever get told about when I'm streaming, and it's become such a massive headache. And it's just,
bro, what the fuck? Him and MAGA Male both coming out being like, I hate drama. That's crazy.
Just constant negativity that I'm fully flooded with, like, at all hours. Like, I am in like this human centipede of eating someone's ass while having.
Do you feel like this? I think I'm a little bit more hard into this because my expectation is that every day I log on and there's going to be people, both lovers and haters of mine, that are going to tell me to suck shit and kill myself, which happens anyway. So I think like I'm used to it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what my expectation is. So like, for example, the past couple of weeks where people have been like, hey, I know I used to say you suck shit and you should kill yourself, but I think you were right on a lot of this stuff. When I hear that, I'm like, oh, great. That's positive. You know what I mean? I'm so used to getting an uninterrupted, like, genuine, what's the word for it? Like like a faucet of hatred directed in my direction at any fucking point throughout the day, that whenever someone is actually nice to me, like an onslaught, a bombardment, a deluge, yes, that is the word I was thinking of. Whenever people cut through that and go, you know, you've actually changed my mind on this, like I welcome that, and it actually shocks me. But ultimately, it is something that I expect. It's something that I expect, and I do receive it on a daily basis. It hasn't been as bad recently. It has not been as bad recently for the past month or so, I would say, but it is unimaginably toxic on a daily basis, and that's just my expectation of it. Especially because I'm not just talking about quote unquote drama, I'm talking about politics. You know what I mean? So that's even worse than just drama. This is shit that people believe basically from birth for the most part, and they associate it with their identities. They associate it with their very existence. So for a lot of people, when they hear someone go against their worldview in such an impassioned way, like myself, they turn around and go, I hate everything this person stands for. I want to kill this person. So ultimately, like I said, I kind of understand the hatred because everyone's lives kind of sucks shit. And I'm a very accessible vector for hate. So for that reason, I receive a lot of attacks. But having said that, you know, I think it's worth it at the end of the day. If I can change like the minds of, I don't know, 20 people, 30 people, 1,000 people, then it's all worth it at the end of the day.
Having my ass eaten with even more things that I'm being demanded to like talk about, where everything just feels like a lose-lose, and it has been for like the last 6 or 8 months, I feel, where if I talk about something, it's a problem. Even if something is cut and dry as like Cody Ko having sex with a 17-year-old being bad, I caught a lot of shit for that too. I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't see that, but man, the amount of emails I got and a lot of the things I was seeing, even something as cut and dry as that was an issue when I talked about it. And then if I don't talk about something, or if I don't talk about something fast enough in the time that some people think is appropriate, I'm then accused of covering up for something for an ulterior evil motive. So it just really feels like a rock and a hard place where regardless, it's just going to be a massive flood of negativity. And a huge critique of me that I've always seen is Charlie's a fence sitter. He's just a fucking fence sitting enlightened centrist cuck, this and that. And I've always said for the entire time I've been on the internet, I'm not special. I'm literally just a normal guy who...
Listen. Charlie apology form. Give it to me. I'm writing it. Okay? Apology form template. Rajon Rondo apology form. Paul George apology form. Okay. Paul George apology form. Open image, new tab. Okay. Paint. How do I open it? Okay, listen. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna fucking do it. Wait, what the fuck? Why isn't this working? How the fuck? Oh, God, I can't do it. Here's a blank one. Okay, save image as. Put it in here. Okay. To Moist from Haas. Okay, date 7/31. Okay. 7/31. Reason for behavior. The media convinced me you were a centrist. That's a click. I'm clicking on that. Okay. What do I miss? The media convinced me you were a centrist. I miss balling with you. This is so dumb. I was jealous of your hair. Okay. That's another one. I'm checking that. Okay. Hold on. I was jealous of your hair. I don't watch your actual streams. Okay. Here's the streams. I don't know YouTube commentary. And then Mercury was in Gatorade. Okay, there you go. I will hereby respect Moistcritikal, in parentheses, Penguinzo, and I will not talk down to the future first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay, that's right. I was jealous of hair. Use this pic. I don't know how to like put his pic on there like without, maybe I could just copy it and then paste it like this. There you go. Please make the text bigger. No, we're just saving this and we're pumping it. Sometimes you just got to be honest about it. Okay. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. It's done.
Who got very lucky. I just sit here, joke about shit, talk about my opinion on things and nothing else. I don't have a unique perspective on things. I don't have deep insight into the vicissitudes of certain things. I am literally just a guy who yaps, has some fun, talks about shit, does some wacky stuff as well, and that's it. It's just not that deep. But because everything is so inflammatory and charged online, it's being perceived in the last, I'd say like the last 2 years, it's really popped off as me making deliberate attempts to appease both sides and play right down to soak up as much as possible. Like it's all this like nefarious scheme where I'm doing this with my hands. And I just don't understand how it's become so incendiary where that's apparently like a really bad thing now. My opinion is not special, and my opinion isn't one that's pandering to any sides or catering to anything. It's literally just whatever's up here. I sit down for like 30 to 45 minutes on like a topic or like a video that I'm joking around about, and I talk about it. I am legitimately just an average, well, below average height guy who's about to turn 30. I'm not just spitting hot takes out the wazoo here. I'm just being myself. That's all this channel ever has been. And now it's become super controversial to do that if it's not like, you know,
are you still good with Charlie?
On
yeah.
Everything, it seems. And it's very frustrating. For the longest time, it was just me having fun. And for the most part, it still is. But I've started to recognize over the last few months that some of the things I do just really aren't fun for me to do, and I've been doing them out of obligation. Mainly internet drama. When I initially started covering drama so many years ago now, it was fun, because it wasn't as serious. Like, the stories were a lot, you know, more quirky. It was easy to get invested, because it was kind of just like a soap opera, like a really dumb soap opera. But
man, he's a centrist hack, and I don't care if he's real him or not for money amount. Bro, the centrist hack that you're talking about just came out in front of 15.7 million subscribers and advocated for trans medical care, an issue that like is so dramatically like it will literally capture the anger and resentment of every single right winger. Like, what are you talking about? This shit has almost 1 million views in an hour. Like, it's going to get worse. So many lefties with this mentality the last 24 hours, sad to see. Yeah. Y'all are fucking nutty. That's why I said I apologize. Because, like, honestly, there's a couple issues where, I would say where, like, if you actually fucking put out a stance, like a legitimate stance in defense of, like, certain groups, back in the day, that was Palestine and trans people. Now it's a little bit more mainstream to be like pro-Palestine, which is crazy to even say, right? There's still a lot of like financial and career repercussions, but like coming out and just like defending trans people when they make up like such a minuscule percentage of the population, with most of the American population thinking that they're just like weird and abnormal, and then most of the people who hate trans people that are far beyond the normal way of like analyzing trans people, but literally taking it to a level where they would like try to kill you, is still very much, in my opinion, a brave thing to do, especially when your content has basically garnered the attention of both right-wing people and left-wing people. You know what I mean? Yeah, people forget Dylan Mulvaney was the most wanted individual for months.
recently, it's been much more serious, and I feel the need to talk about.
Nobody would try to kill you. You should know better. Fiat, what? I'm exaggerating. Like, people won't. I mean, that's actually kind of funny that you're saying that to me. No, people do try to kill me, actually. What are we talking about? No, I get a lot of death threats, some of which are from transphobes. So, you know, so no, you're wrong, actually. I don't know why I was about to fucking cave on that.
about these things because a lot of them are extremely serious with very important topics to discuss. But it has become draining. As much as I never wanted to admit it, I've started to recognize that my mood is immediately impacted by whatever I read on Twitter.
Do you get scared by those? Fuck no. Also, this is a very important point. Okay? This is a very important point. He's talking about how his mood gets impacted by what he reads on Twitter.
In the morning. If that's some horrible stuff about a creator or what have you, it immediately affects my entire day and my whole outlook on the day.
This is why I got off Twitter on my phone, straight up.
I know, whack, call the wambulance, get some French fries, just fucking whining about having to talk about drama. What a stupid problem to be upset about. But I'm just trying to explain that it hasn't been as fun recently. It hasn't. And the main thing, if you've been around the channel...
because his right wing is shit. That's why.
...for a while, is I've always wanted this to be fun and never feel like a job. And as hard as it is for me to admit this, a lot of this kind of stuff, it has just started to feel like less fun and more of, well, gotta do this because I'm expected to. Like, anytime I go live, most of chat is just telling me about the latest in whatever's happening in the creator space or some other like extremely negative thing going on, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to learn all about that once I turn stream off, so then I spend a few hours learning about these things, and it's all just really upsetting stuff. Like, it's not happy, it's all very sad, bad stuff, and it's been making me...
None of these motherfuckers ever listen to me, including Ludwig, but this is literally because of Twitter, because we place a lot of emphasis on what we see on Twitter, because we think that like it is not 4chan, but basically normalized. We think like that's, you know, that's the everything app, you know, everything happens here on Twitter. That's what we think. That's not the case anymore. I'm telling you, for my mental health, it was so much better. So much better. I'm extremely online. I'm online every goddamn day. Nonstop. You know this, okay? But for my mental, it was significantly better not to be like so tapped in, so invested in whatever fucking content creator is getting like canceled or whatever on a daily basis. And half the time it was me. I was the one who was getting fucking... Half the time it was me. I was the one who was getting canceled for some shit I didn't even say.
Not happy. So I definitely think I'll be slowing down on covering internet-related drama or like drama in general. I'll still talk about like really wacky stories and shit like that, but I definitely think I'm gonna be pumping the brakes on like the kind of drama I have been covering recently. And instead, I'm gonna go back to focusing on the content that I'm most happy with. Like, if you ask me what content I'm most proud of throughout my entire time on this platform for the last like 17, 18 years, none of it would be drama coverage. It'd be things like Skynut. It'd be things like shooting a potato at a tennis racket to see if you can make French fries in midair by frying them in hot oil. It's shit like that. And I think I'm going to go back to that kind of stuff as opposed to the direction that I have been going recently. So, yeah, this was a lot to go over here, but I hope this has cleared everything up. And, yeah, that's really about...
He's realizing after stepping into it once how many freaks attracted when it comes up. Yes. That's literally what it is. People are fucking nutso, dude. Especially when, like, these guys cover drama quite a bit. But once you get that fucking drama pill, once you get into the drama, especially drama that pertains to, like, trans people, or especially drama that pertains to, like, a beloved right-wing figure, for example, they will literally immediately turn around and be like, well, there's this left-wing adjacent figure that was also caught. Why aren't you covering it? Because for them, it has nothing to do with like the actual issue. It has nothing to do with protecting the children or anything like that. It's just a way to score points in their fucking minds. And these guys are so goddamn parasitic. They just like latch on and just eat away at your fucking soul every goddamn day. Okay? That's what I warned Asmongold about too. You said Asmon's about to learn this? Yeah, I mean, as long as you stay like center right, it won't really hurt you that much. But like, he will lose a lot of his like core fan base that are liberals or leftists who are like, what the fuck's going on? But it is really shitty. It is really, really shitty. I mean, it happened to Nick Merckx. Like, look at Nick Merckx, bro. We talked about it. Look at Nick Merckx. He used to play fucking COD. And now he's over here doing like the latest and greatest in fucking trans content. Anyway, let's watch a Nick Merckx vid, please. I don't want to watch it on my own. I know chat doesn't either. Then why are we watching it? Even if those parasites accept you, they won't accept you. Exactly. That's the other part of it. They will inevitably move on